All right, let's dive into this, shall we? Legacy, impact, ultra-rich thinking, all that jazz. But hold on. Put those images of yachts and private islanders aside for a sec.
Yeah,
The
because it's
source we're looking at today, it's kind of flipping the script on how we usually think about wealth and influence.
exactly. It's not really about the money itself. It's more about, the
No,
impact.
heck yeah.
Yeah. It pushes us to think bigger about wealth,
Yeah.
not just like your bank account, but the richness of what you give back.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh, I totally get that. It's like, okay, you could be a billionaire, but if you're not using it to make a difference, then what's the point?
Right, right.
What will people actually say about you when you're gone? Like, will they remember how much money you had? Or will they remember the kind of person you were, what you did for others?
That's a great way to put it. This source is all about that. How true fulfillment, it's not about what you get, it's about what you give. Recognizing that your resources, whether it's money, smarts, or even just your time and energy, they're all tools for making a positive impact.
Okay, I'm digging this. So it's not about being rich, it's about being rich in impact.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But how do we even define legacy? It's kind of fuzzy, Like, how do we measure something that's supposed to, outlive us?
That's where things get interesting.
Yeah.
The source breaks legacy down into like 5 types: philanthropic, intellectual, cultural, relationship, and environmental. Even within those, there are tons of ways to make a mark.
5 flavors of legacy. I like it. But honestly, when we talk legacy, it's usually philanthropy that grabs the spotlight. What should we be thinking about there?
Yeah, for sure. And this source, it really wants us to think beyond just like writing a check. It's asking, how can our giving create real change? Not just like putting a Band-Aid on things.
Right, right.
Aligning our giving with our values, being strategic about where those resources go.
That makes a lot of sense. Anyone can write a check, but are you really getting to the root of the problem? I feel like that's a struggle for a lot of people.
Absolutely. And then there's the question of impact. How do we even know if what we're doing is actually making a difference? That's tough.
Yeah, totally. How do you balance wanting to see results with understanding that real change takes time? It's like planting a seed. You can't expect a giant tree to just pop up overnight.
Exactly. And that's a big point this source makes. Legacy. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Think generations, not just right now.
That long game, huh? I get it in theory, but honestly, I get caught up in the day-to-day too. How do you balance that urgency with the long view?
Great question. The source says it starts with knowing your values, like really knowing them. What are those guiding principles? What shapes your actions?
Okay, so like a North Star, a compass, something to keep you on track even when things get hectic.
Exactly. And that brings us to another type of legacy, the intellectual one. Using your knowledge, your skills, your experiences to leave a mark.
Okay, but we're not all Einstein, right? Does it have to be like groundbreaking discoveries or writing a best-selling book?
Not at all. Think about those teachers who really inspired you, the mentors who guided you, writers whose words really moved you. They've all left an intellectual legacy, even without a Nobel Prize.
So it's about sharing what we know, our insights, our perspectives, so that others can learn and grow.
Yes. Contributing to that, pool of human knowledge. We're all part of this ongoing conversation, right? And everyone has something to bring to the table.
Love that. And speaking of bringing something to the table, the source asks this question: what problems really resonate with you? The ones that keep you up at night.
Right.
Because those are the areas where we can probably have the biggest impact, right?
Yeah.
Passion meets expertise.
Exactly. It might not be the problems that get the most attention or the most money thrown at them, but they matter to you. You're called to address them.
So you've got philanthropy, intellectual legacy, this burning desire to solve a problem. Where do we go from here?
Well, we can't forget about the other types of legacy, right? Cultural, relationship, environmental, they're all connected, all part of that bigger picture.
All right, let's unpack those next, see how they fit into this ultra-rich thinking thing.
So we've got these different types of legacy, but they all kind of work together, right? It's not like you just pick one.
Yeah, it's more like a tapestry or something. Which actually makes me think of cultural legacy. What's that all about?
Think about someone like Maya Angelou. Her words are still inspiring people, or Frida Kahlo. Her art really challenged things and got people talking. Cultural legacy, it's about shaping how we express ourselves, pushing boundaries, leaving a mark on the cultural landscape.
So it could be writing a book that starts important conversations, or maybe creating music that moves people, or even starting a movement for justice.
Yeah, exactly. Contributing to how culture evolves. adding your own voice, your perspective to the mix.
It's like we're all artists in a way, right? Creating our own masterpieces, whether it's through words or music or art or even just how we live our lives.
Absolutely. And that leads us to relationship legacy, which I think gets overlooked a lot, but it's powerful stuff.
This one I get. I've had mentors and they weren't rich in the money way, but the guidance they gave me, the support, that's priceless. It stayed with me.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
Relationship legacy is about that impact we have on people
Yeah.
through guidance, support, mentorship, just real human connection.
And it doesn't have to be formal I'm your mentor stuff, right? Just being a good friend, a supportive colleague, a parent who teaches their kids strong values. Those count.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that how we treat others, even the small stuff, it can have a ripple effect. It goes way beyond just us.
Okay, so we've got these four so far. Philanthropic, intellectual, cultural, and relationship. They all seem to connect, build on each other.
They do. And the source is saying this holistic approach, that's what really shows ultra-rich thinking. It's not one thing. It's realizing all these aspects contribute to the richness of our impact.
It's I don't know, diversifying your portfolio, but instead of stocks, it's ways you're making a difference.
Great analogy.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the fifth type, and it's more and more important these days. Environmental legacy.
Okay, so beyond the reusable water bottles and stuff, what does that really mean?
It's understanding we're caretakers of this planet. We got to make choices that keep it healthy for the generations coming after us. Supporting sustainable practices, speaking up for environmental policies, reducing our own footprint, even investing in clean energy.
So being aware that our actions today, they affect the future and taking responsibility for our impact.
Exactly. And it's not just big dramatic things. It's the choices we make every day. The food we buy, the clothes we wear, how we travel, the companies we support, all of that.
It's think globally, act locally, right?
Yeah.
Small changes can add up.
Absolutely. And this source, it really highlights that environmental legacy isn't just about saving the planet. It's about a fairer world for everyone. Climate change hits marginalized communities harder, so fixing these things, it's crucial for a truly sustainable future.
So it's not just saving the planet, it's saving ourselves. We're all connected.
Exactly. And that connection, that's a thread through all five types of legacy. Recognizing our actions ripple out, and even small things make a difference.
Okay, so we've got these five types all linked together, part of this bigger, ultra-rich thinking idea. But how do we actually do it? How do we build a legacy that matters?
Remember those actionable strategies the source talked about? They're like a roadmap for putting these ideas into practice.
Yeah, you mentioned that long-term vision thing, building sustainable systems, documenting our journey, cultivating future leaders. To be honest, they sounded a little, I don't know, corporate-y, kind of vague. How do we make them real?
Let's break them down. The source says, start by really envisioning your legacy. Write your own story. Imagine what that legacy chapter would say about your impact.
I like that, writing my legacy chapter. So it's about picturing the world we want to create, the difference we want to make, and working backwards from there.
Exactly. Having that North Star guiding everything.
Yeah.
And once we've got that vision, then we can think about building systems that'll last, making sure the impact keeps going even after we're not around anymore.
Like starting a foundation, an endowment, a scholarship, or building an organization that can carry on the work.
Yeah. Creating structures that let our impact outlive us. And this ties into documenting our journey, not to brag, but to share our story, what we've learned, the good and the bad, so others can be inspired.
Like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs for others, sharing the wisdom we picked up along the way so they can learn from it.
Exactly. And then there's cultivating future leaders, finding people who share our vision, our passion, and giving them the tools to take over, keep things going.
This is where I get a little nervous. How do we even find those people, and what if we pick the wrong ones?
The source says, leadership isn't always about titles or being in charge. It's about spotting those who really care, have integrity, want to make things better, and are willing to learn.
So we're not looking for mini-Mays, but people with the same values, driven by the same purpose.
Right. And helping them grow means giving them chances to learn, to develop their skills. Could be mentoring, guidance, connecting them with resources, even just letting them share their ideas.
So empowering them to become leaders themselves, to continue the work, and realizing that we're not just the teachers, we're learning too alongside them.
Exactly. And that's the cool thing about legacy. It's always changing, always growing. It's about being on the journey, learning from mistakes, and adapting as the world changes.
This makes sense, but let's be honest, building a legacy, even if it sounds amazing, it's not going to be easy. There are going to be challenges. Remember, the source talked about ego, measuring impact, balancing our own needs with these bigger goals.
You're absolutely right. We can't ignore those. Let's dive into those next.
All right, so we've looked at all these different kinds of legacy, we've got these strategies, and we know there'll be challenges. But I feel like there's this underlying thing we got to talk about. The source keeps coming back to it, this idea of redefining what ultra rich even means.
Yeah, you're spot on. It's not just switching from what can I get to what can I give. It's like a deeper shift in values that's at the heart of ultra-rich thinking.
Okay, help me out here, because honestly, it kind of sounds backwards, right? Aren't we basically wired to want more, to achieve, to accumulate? That's what we're told success is, isn't it?
That's definitely part of being human, for sure. But what's interesting is the source is saying the deep down lasting fulfillment, that feeling of, yeah, I did something good. It often comes when we go beyond just wanting stuff. It's recognizing that true wealth, it's not about the stuff. It's about the impact we have, the value we create for others, the legacy we leave.
So it's less about your bank balance and more about the richness of what you contribute.
Exactly. Think about it. You could have all the money on earth, but if you haven't used it to make things better, to leave a mark that goes beyond just why you, what's it actually worth?
Okay, that's kind of hitting home. It's what's the point of all this effort if it doesn't lead to something meaningful, something that matters in the big picture? Are we just chasing empty calories?
That's a great way to put it. That's the core of ultra-rich thinking here. It's realizing that true wealth, true success, it's using what we've got, our talents, our time, our energy, to create positive change that keeps going, even after we're gone.
Okay, starting to click now. So it's not about ditching ambition or wanting to achieve things. It's more about aiming that energy at something bigger than ourselves.
Exactly. It's about connecting our own goals with a purpose that's bigger than just us. Recognizing that we're all part of this larger story and asking ourselves, what part do I want to play in that?
Whoa, okay, getting chills now. But how do we actually DO this? It still feels kind of, I don't know, up in the clouds.
Well, remember all those strategies we talked about. They're not just random tips. They're how we turn this ultra-rich thinking into real actions. Start with that vision. Figure out your values. What are those causes that really speak to you, the problems you can't ignore?
Right, that inner audit. What do I care about? Where's my passion? What skills and resources do I even have to offer? And then what?
Then it's time to put those resources to work. Could be giving money to good causes, supporting businesses that are ethical and sustainable, mentoring people, pushing for change in the system, or a mix of all of that. Remember the multiplier effect. That's where it kicks in.
Like that pebble in the pond, the ripples go way further than the spot where it landed.
Exactly. And as we're doing this, it's important to share our story, what we're learning. Inspire others to get involved too. Because building a legacy, it's not a solo mission, it's teamwork.
So not lone heroes, but a whole bunch of people, all working together for the same goal. Honestly, that feels less scary than trying to do it all myself.
I agree. And remember, building a legacy isn't about being perfect or knowing everything. It's about the process, learning from when we mess up, and changing as the world changes.
So it's a journey, not a destination. And anyone can start. Doesn't matter how much money you have or where you come from. It's not about being ultra rich like in the magazines. It's about that mindset.
Exactly. It's realizing that we all have the power to create a legacy, to make the world even a tiny bit better.
And that, folks, is what ultra-rich thinking really is all about.
So as we finish up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one last question that the source asks us to think about. Is being ultra-rich about what you gather up or what you give out?
Whoa, that's a heavy one. Lots to chew on there, for sure.
Let that question be your guide. Let it shape what you do and inspire you to build a legacy that truly makes a difference.
And on that note, we'll sign off, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep making the world better. Till next time, happy diving.